Mine is a fiction text called The Magic Stone. Once, long ago, there lived a girl named Erica. She lived on the edge of a huge forest. Every day, her brother went off to school. Erica stayed at home with her mother, sewing and cooking. But she hated sewing and was terrible at cooking. "Oh Erica, not another knot. Oh Erica, please don't add any more salt. Oh Erica, watch that pot, it's burning," her mother would cry. And Erica would slam it all down and storm out of the house. In the evenings, she would love to go out walking in the forest to the south of the village with her brother. They would wander here and there until Erica had no idea where she was or which way was home. She loved the shade of the forest and the feel of the dust between her toes. She loved climbing trees and watching the animals. Sometimes at dusk she heard wolves howling and she was glad that her brother was there to find her way home. At night the forest was dangerous. Luckily, when it was time to go home, her brother always seemed to know the way. He would just walk in a straight line through the dense trees, always in the right direction. One day she asked him, "Leo, how are you so good at finding your way?" "I'm not really your brother," he huffed, ruffing her hair. "I'm a bird in the body of a boy, and you know that birds can always find their way home." Erica shook her head. "Leo, you can't be a bird. You're terrible at singing." "Ha," he said. "All right, I have an amazing sense of smell. I can smell our mother's cooking from miles away." Erica tried sniffing the air. Leo laughed. Erica blushed and felt silly. "All right," he said, "I'll tell you the truth. I have a magic stone. Here on my neck." He waved around the ugly lump of rock that he always wore on a string. "Shut up," she snapped. "Don't make fun of me." Erica stamped to her feet and decided that she would learn how he did it. She would watch him carefully and find out his secret. The next day, as evening fell in the forest, she watched her brother carefully. He stood with his back to her, clearly up to something. Maybe he can smell mother's cooking, she thought. Erica crept up behind Leo and saw him take off the stone necklace and let it hang by the string so that the stone swung this way and that. "Leo, is that a magic stone? Are you a magician?" she asked, her eyes wide. "Yes, it's magic. It can even pull the nails right out of your sandals." Erica glared at him, pink in the face and wild about the eyes. "Stop making fun of me," she said. Leo laughed. "You wouldn't understand. You're just a girl." Well, that made Erica mad and determined. It had something to do with the stone, and if Leo wouldn't tell her, then she would find out for herself. The next day, while the boys were at school, Erica slipped into Leo's room and took the stone necklace from the shelf and put it over her head. She went to the forest to the south of the village and wandered through the trees until she could no longer see her house. Then she took off the stone necklace and looked at it. She held it tight and she wished, "Show me the way, show me the way," but it gave her no sign. She rubbed it and it did nothing. She held it to her ear and she could hear no sound. Time passed. She couldn't get it to do anything. She threw it to the floor and sat down. She tapped it this way and that way, and she tapped it with her foot. And then something strange happened. It began to follow her sandal. If she moved her sandal slowly away, the stone came too, sticking to the tacks of the soles, a bit like what Leo had said. She jumped up. It was magic. She was afraid to touch it again. All of a sudden she felt terribly afraid and terribly alone. She knew she had to go back. Holding it as far away from herself as she could in case it did any other strange tricks, she picked up the stone by the string, and as she watched, the stone spun to the left and to the right, and to the left and to the right, and then it settled and stopped moving. Erica was curious and gave it a tap. She waited while it spun left and then right and then stopped again in the exact same place. There was a mark on one end of the stone. That's how he did it, she thought, and she fixed her eyes in the direction of the mark and followed it. It led her straight home. The next day, when she was out with her brother, she said, "I will lead us home today." Leo laughed and swung down from the trees to watch. She took the stone necklace from Leo's neck and held it out. She waited for the stone to be still and she pointed it in the direction of the mark. "I know the magic," she said. Leo smiled and said, "What a clever sister I have. This is a lodestone. It will always point north. It's not magic, it's just a very special stone. And he took the stone and broke it in half. Oh, Leo, you've broken it, Erica cried. No, he said, ruffling her hair. It will still work, I've just made it into two. He gave her the half with the mark. She put the stone on a string and wore it around her neck. She didn't think it was ugly anymore. From that day on, she could always find her way home from the forest. As she grew older, she would go deeper and deeper into the forest to the south of the village, finding pools and caves and waterfalls. Wherever she went, her lodestone helped her find the way home before nightfall. How do you think the stone worked?